When you think of Africa, what comes to mind? The reality might just surprise you. Did you know, for instance, that 11 of the 20 fastest growing economies are in sub-Saharan Africa? Behind me is Gaborone, the capital city of Botswana, a small southern African country about the size of California, but it's only got a population of 2 million. And in many ways, Botswana is a microcosm of what is taking place in sub-Saharan Africa. And that is, mineral wealth is driving the economic growth. And in Botswana, that mineral is diamonds. Diamonds have made Botswana's economy boom. And when you talk about booming, you just look behind me. Behind me 5 years ago, it was bush. There was nothing here. Today, the city is a virtual construction site. Everywhere, buildings are sprouting up. In fact, the construction sector was growing so fast that it grew at 28% per annum for a while. In fact, the economy of Botswana is doing so well that its sales per capita of imported luxury vehicles like this fine BMW over here, it rivals that of South Africa, its economic superpower giant that is south of the border with $400 billion. Botswana's economy is only worth $15 billion. So it's quite astonishing when you look at those figures in comparison. But there's a problem. The diamonds that Botswana has become so reliant on over the last 40 years to grow its economy are going to start to become less profitable in around 9 years, around 2022. And the reason for that is that the method of mining is going to change from open cast to digging of tunnels. Digging of tunnels is expensive because you have to pay for air conditioning, you have to pay for water to be pumped up and down those tunnels. It's really, really expensive. And so what happens, the diamonds will still be there, but it will be less profitable to mine them, which means less revenue for the government of Botswana. Luckily enough, they have a plan B, and here it is. This is coal. Botswana has 70 billion tons of it, estimated. And you know what? They plan to export it that way to Mozambique or that way to Namibia. And they will supply it to China and India. This will be their plan B. However, there's still another problem. And here is the problem. If you look behind me, most of the people walking past me are young people, and that is Africa's problem. You see, Africa has the world's youngest population. Botswana has 40% of its population lying between the ages of 10 and 24. These are people that are going to need jobs within the next several years. Now, let me break those figures down even more for you. Botswana generates 40,000 school leavers per year, but it only has 10,000 retirees. So that leaves you with 30,000 people. Now, in economics, there's a term called the participation rate. And in Botswana, you have a 2/3 participation rate in the economy. That means 1/3 of that 30,000, that's about 10,000, are young ladies who will get married straight out of school and people who are disabled. So those people will not actively participate in the economy. Now, that leaves you with 20,000 people. Unfortunately, the government and the private sector of Botswana are only generating 6,000 to 8,000 jobs a year. That leaves you with 12,000 people looking for a job. But something interesting happens in Botswana. Although there are 12,000 to 14,000 people unemployed every year, at the registrar of companies, they're registering 15,000 companies per year. Which begs the question, why is there unemployment when there are so many companies being registered as opposed to unemployed youth? Most people in Botswana want to start a business, but they don't have the foggiest idea where to start. This is where this show comes in. We will provide the idea, we will show you the problem in Botswana, then we will show you the innovative solution and how to implement it. Finally, we will show you the market for the business. So, where do we begin? Well, how about tackling one of the biggest drivers of poverty in Africa, and that is energy. Energy is a regressive tax. Now, what is a regressive tax? Well, it's a tax that attacks the poor. Now, under normal circumstances, there is a progressive tax, which is what most people are aware of, and that is the more money you earn, the more tax you pay. While in Botswana, the highest tax bracket is 25% for those who are well off. However, there is also a big problem for poor people in that their costs, their very, very necessary monthly costs, are higher than that 25%. Let me give you an example. Imagine, if you will, that you are one of the working poor in Botswana. You earn about 1,500 pula per month. Now, in order for you to cook anything, you're going to need energy in the form of gas. And that is going to cost you 390 pula for a canister this size. So if you need to get around in Africa, you'll need to get on one of these. These are combis, and they cost about 3 pula 50 per ride here in Botswana. Now, on an average day, the average working class person from Botswana will need about 3 or 4 transfers. So that's about 20 pula per day. Now, that means about 440 pula per month, which, if you combine it with the gas canister, means that the average working class person has been taxed about 830 pula out of their 1,500 pula monthly salary. Believe it or not, the solution to Botswana's energy problems starts right here with these cattle. Botswana has 2.5 to 3 million cattle. That's more cattle than there are people. There's only about 2 million people in Botswana, barely. And this thing about cattle is that they produce, each cow produces 7 kilograms of cow dung. Okay, we can't think of a better word for this show. So why is cow dung very important? Cow dung has methane in it, and methane is a flammable gas that can be used for cooking and ultimately for generating electricity. This is a fixed dome biogas digester. Slurry is prepared in the mixing tank. It is fed into the digester through the inlet chamber. Gradually, biogas collects in the dome of the digester. The biogas pressurizes and forces the spent slurry into the outlet chamber, and it then overflows into the overflow tank. The gas collected is then fed off through the pipe for use as domestic fuel. The gas can be used for generating electricity, and this is important because of a lot of rural areas in Africa are off the grid. Villagers can sell electricity to each other. The slurry makes great organic fertilizer as methane has been removed from it, and it does not break down so fast in the harsh Botswana sun. Cooking with gas means less trees cut down and a better environment. Now that we've looked at the cooking gas and motorbike fuel, let's see how else we can sort out the fuel situation. And the second plan comes from a source you might not normally think about. The second idea we've got is tires. Now, I know you're probably thinking, what could you possibly do with tires? The answer is, what can't you do with tires? This machine here performs a process called pyrolysis. Believe it or not, this process takes tires and breaks them into diesel fuel. Yes, the diesel fuel you see in your car. Each machine can generate up to 1,000 liters of diesel per day, and that is ideal for a small business startup in Africa. It has low maintenance and operating costs. There is a self-fueled heating chamber, so no external energy is required. The outgases are treated so there is little chance of pollution. And there is your diesel fuel. That black powder you see is called carbon black, which is what tire manufacturers use to dye tires because rubber is naturally white. Another added benefit is steel wire that is found in tires. This can be sold off as steel scrap, and it's another way of cost recovery. So, why does Botswana need artificial turf? Well, if you look around me and behind me, this is a typical primary school sports field. There's no grass on it, and the reason for that is there's no rain in Botswana. In fact, most of Botswana only has about 300 millimeters per year of rainfall. That's not conducive to having sports fields of grass, so you need artificial turf. In fact, rainfall is so scarce in Botswana that the currency is called the pula, which means rain in Setswana. So, where are we going with all this? Well, The government of Botswana, through the Botswana National Sports Council, has decreed that 2028 is the year that Botswana will announce itself on the world stage as a power. So to do that, you're going to need facilities. Now, you might think, well, Botswana becoming a world power, not likely to happen. But they've already got an Olympic silver medalist in the 800 meters, Nigel Amos, and a world champion in the form of Amantle Munsu in the 400 meters. But as much as that is good success for Botswana, Botswana are very, very passionate about one game, and that is soccer. And their soccer team, the Zebras, have done well enough to qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations. Now, soccer is very, very important in Africa, and it is in Botswana too. But the problem with soccer is that the surface that you play on is very, very important. You see, there's no grass here. And in Europe, there's grass, and you're expected to do the slide tackle. So that's one of the little things that you need to have. So if Botswana's government is very, very serious about success by 2028, they're going to have to upgrade the facilities. And that is where the market is. Botswana has 1,100 schools, and that's just the schools. They're going to have to build surfaces like this everywhere. If you can even get half those schools, it would be quite a lucrative business. And don't just stop there, because even in African countries where there's a lot of rainfall, it's still very, very expensive to maintain grass fields. So artificial pitches are the way to go. I'm at Mulapulula Stadium, and this is about 40 kilometers from Gaborone. Gaborone is that way, and when you watch this on television, this looks like real grass, doesn't it? But it's not. It's artificial turf made from plastic. But what is very, very interesting about it is that in between those blades of grass is this black filament. It's made out of recycled tires. Did you know that? It's amazing, isn't it? Another use for recycled tires is as rubberized asphalt. You see, a road like this, it'll cost you about 1.5 million pula per kilometer worth of bitumen to construct a road like this in Botswana. And Africa, along with Botswana, is going to need to construct a lot of roads over the next 50 years as trade improves and as conditions improve. So if you can have rubberized asphalt come in as a substitute for bitumen, it will reduce the cost per kilometer of constructing roads. As it stands, Botswana is going to need another 2,500 odd kilometers to add onto its 7,500 kilometers of tarred road. Here's how it works. The tires are crushed into a very fine powder. After which they are mixed with concrete. Roads using recycled tires last longer and need less maintenance than conventional roads. Rubberized asphalt roads also absorb more sound and create less noise pollution than normal roads. The black color of the road is also maintained for much longer, making the road markings much more effective, which means greater road safety. And where's the market for this product? Try the government of Botswana and the road construction companies, because this method will save them money.